Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speak Smart, the podcast dedicated to helping you master English conversation. I'm Jane.
And I'm Lucy. We're so glad you're joining us today. You know, Jane, I remember when I was first learning a new language, the biggest hurdle wasn't just understanding words, but actually putting them together to sound, well, natural.
Absolutely, Lucy. It's one thing to know vocabulary and grammar rules, but it's another entirely to weave them into a smooth, authentic conversation. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. How A2 level learners can start speaking more naturally, almost like a native.
Yes, speak like a native can sound a bit intimidating when you're just starting, can't it? But what we mean by that for A2 isn't about perfect idioms or advanced slang. It's about rhythm, intonation, and using common phrases that make you sound more comfortable and confident.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond just, I am good, to, I'm doing well, thanks. It's those little shifts that make a big difference. So where do we even begin, Lucy, for someone who's at that A2 stage, building their foundational skills?
I think the absolute first step is immersing yourself in listening. You can't really produce natural English until you've heard a lot of natural English. For A2 learners, I always recommend finding content that's slightly above their current understanding, but not so much that it's overwhelming. Think simple podcasts, short news clips, or even children's stories in English.
That's a fantastic point. Active listening is key. Don't just let it wash over you. Really pay attention to how people speak. Notice the intonation, where their voice goes up or down. Listen to how words connect, because often native speakers don't pronounce every word distinctly. They link them.
Oh, that's so true. Like I am going to often becomes I'm gonna. If you don't listen for those kinds of natural reductions, you'll be confused when you hear them in real life, even if you know the individual words. And after listening comes repeating, right?
Absolutely. Mimicking is a powerful tool. Once you've listened to a sentence or a short phrase, try to repeat it exactly as you heard it. Don't worry about understanding every single word at first. Focus on the rhythm and the sound. Try to copy the accent, the speed, even the emotion if you can.
It's like being an actor, isn't it? You're not just saying lines, you're performing them, and I found it really helpful to record myself. It's painful at first to listen back, but it's incredibly effective for noticing where you sound a bit robotic versus where you're starting to get that natural flow.
That's brilliant advice, Lucy. The recording part is crucial because our own perception of how we sound can be quite different from reality. Another tip for A2 learners is to focus on learning phrases, not just individual words. Instead of learning thank and you separately, learn thank you as one unit, or how are you doing as a single thought.
Oh yes, that's a game changer. I used to try to translate every single word from my native language into English, and it made my sentences sound so clunky. When I started picking up common expressions like, it's a pleasure to meet you, or could you give me a hand, my conversations started flowing so much better.
Precisely. Native speakers don't construct every sentence word by word in their heads. They use these prefabricated chunks of language. The more of these you learn, the more fluent you'll sound, even with limited vocabulary. Think about common greetings, farewells, asking for directions, ordering food. These are all scenarios where you can apply whole phrases.
And that leads perfectly into practicing in everyday scenarios. Even if you don't have a native speaker around, you can role play with yourself. Imagine you're at a coffee shop or asking for information at a train station. What would you say? How would the other person respond?
I love that. It's low-pressure practice. You can even try describing your day out loud in English, narrating your actions. I'm making coffee now. I'm going to drink it while I read. Simple sentences, but they build that muscle memory for real-time conversation. It makes you realize where your vocabulary gaps are, too.
Exactly. And speaking of gaps, let's address the elephant in the room for every language learner: mistakes. Oh, how we fear them. But honestly, at A2, making mistakes is not just normal, it's essential for learning.
Couldn't agree more. If you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough, you're not pushing your boundaries. Think of mistakes as data points. They show you where you need to improve. A native speaker will almost always understand what you mean, even if your grammar isn't perfect, as long as you're making an effort to communicate.
Right. And focusing too much on perfection can completely paralyze you. I remember trying to construct the perfect sentence in my head before speaking, and by the time I was ready, the conversation had moved on. It's better to say something imperfectly than to say nothing at all.
Absolutely. Prioritize communication over grammatical perfection. Especially at this stage, the confidence you gain from successfully conveying a message, even with a few errors, is far more valuable than silently striving for flawlessness. And to really put these skills into practice, you need a speaking partner, right?
Oh, yes. That's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Finding someone to practice with regularly. It could be another English learner, or ideally, a native speaker if you can find one. There are so many apps and online communities now where you can connect with language exchange partners.
And don't be shy. Most people who are engaging in language exchange are really understanding and patient. They're usually learning a language themselves, so they know exactly what you're going through. The key is consistency. Even 15-20 minutes a few times a week can make a huge difference.
It really does. I found that having a regular schedule helped me commit. It wasn't just, oh, I'll practice when I feel like it. It was, every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. I have my language exchange. That routine builds habit, which is crucial for progress.
That's a fantastic strategy. Building habits makes learning so much easier. And when you're speaking with a partner, try to ask open-ended questions that encourage a longer response, rather than just yes or no. It helps keep the conversation going and gives you more practice.
Good point. Instead of, do you like coffee, try, what kind of coffee do you usually drink and why? It opens up a whole new avenue for conversation. And remember, it's a two-way street. Listen carefully to their answers and then ask follow-up questions.
Active listening and responding authentically are hallmarks of natural conversation. It's not just about delivering your lines, it's about engaging with the other person. And if you're struggling to understand something, don't be afraid to ask for clarification. Could you repeat that, please? Or, what does word mean, is perfectly fine.
Oh yes, clarifying questions are a lifesaver. It shows you're engaged and trying to understand, rather than just nodding along and pretending. And again, this builds confidence. The more you successfully navigate these little conversational bumps, the better you'll feel.
Exactly. So to recap for our A2 learners wanting to speak more naturally, first, immerse yourselves in active listening, paying attention to rhythm and intonation. Second, mimic what you hear, even recording yourself to compare. Third, focus on learning common phrases as complete units, not just individual words.
Fourth, practice in everyday scenarios, even by yourself, role-playing common situations. Fifth, and this is so important, embrace your mistakes as learning opportunities. Don't let them stop you from speaking. And finally, find a speaking partner and practice consistently.
These steps, taken consistently, will absolutely transform your English conversation skills. You'll start to notice those little nuances that make you sound more natural, more confident, and more like someone who truly enjoys speaking English.
It's a journey, not a sprint. Celebrate the small victories like understanding a joke or successfully ordering food without hesitation. Every little step brings you closer to your goal of speaking English with ease and confidence.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Lucy. And remember, the Speak Smart podcast is here to guide you every step of the way. Keep listening, keep practicing, and keep speaking.
That's all for this episode of Speak Smart. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope these tips help you feel more empowered to speak English naturally. We'll catch you next time.
Bye for now.